Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business.
So I have a very special treat for you today. I'd love to introduce you to a beautiful lady, a mama of 2 boys, and I think a very inspiring business coach whom I have had the pleasure of knowing virtually for quite a number of years now, sort of just floating around each other's Instagram and that sort of thing. I think I may have even attended some webinars in the early days, but I just find this woman a powerhouse, and I really want to introduce her to you and share her incredible wisdom. So introducing Clare Wood to the Brand Lover podcast. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Rachel. It's so interesting. We started off our chat saying it feels like we know each other because we've followed each other on Instagram for so long. So it's lovely to finally connect with you and to be here on the podcast.
Oh, likewise. It's a funny thing, isn't it? This digital world that we live in, where we have so many like business cheerleaders who come in and, support each other, and we've never actually either spoken or had a conversation or met in real life. But I actually do feel like we have. Like, it's so funny to think that we haven't. So so just tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words, and I'd love to hear about your business journey and also how you help people in your business, because I know that that's a huge driver for you. Like, you're very heart-led, which is very in line with the Brand Lover podcast.
Yeah. So like you said earlier, I'm Clare Wood. I'm a mum to 2 young boys, and I've been in business at the time of recording for about coming up to 6 years. And I'm a trained accountant. I'm a CPA is my background. And when I first got started in business, I was very much helping people with their numbers and really in strategy and the practical side of supporting businesses to grow. And I came to realize that actually people's mindset plays just as important, if not a bigger role, in creating success in business. So I spend a lot of time now supporting my clients to break through mindset blocks and beliefs that hold them back from stepping into their next level, while keeping them really grounded in the practical side of numbers, financial management, and really helping people to achieve some incredible things. Clients of mine have hit $100,000 months from $15,000-$20,000 months when we first started working together. So it's been really incredible to support so many business owners over the years. And and I'm really, really passionate about helping people build profitable businesses, and particularly doing it in a way that allows them to have an amazing life as well. So making sure that they are enjoying their business, enjoying their life while they are growing their business.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree with that, because, I just see so many women who sort of get stuck. And I think that I have probably made the mistake before, like finding myself in a spot where it's more like, I can't spend time with you, like speaking to my kids, like I can't spend time with you right now because I must do this for the business, or, and it got to a point, even though I kept telling myself I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my lifestyle, I got to the point and it was like a big slap in the face where one of the kids turned around and said something like, "Oh, you're always working," even though, I only realistically work about 20 hours a week. And I'm like, what? No, I'm not. But the whole defensive thing happened. And then I was like, well, if that's their perception, then I got to change some things. And thankfully, like, I think it's a journey. Do you agree? Like, it's a constant.
100%.
Like, it's not a balance. It's sort of like figuring out how it all integrates.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's often we think that, success, whether it's from a financial perspective or work-life balance or whatever it might be, is a destination. But, I know for me, I'm constantly having to reevaluate and check in. And actually, at the moment, I'm at a point where I'm having to make some really big decisions and changes, because I'm definitely feeling that the things have got a little bit out of alignment for me. And I think that's the thing that I like to be really transparent about, is that it's not this, it's not like you get somewhere and then you're there. Like, things will change, things will evolve, and you need to keep growing, changing, evolving, and reevaluating things. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that too. And it's just going, okay, cool. If I'm not happy with this particular area of my business or my life, what do I need to do to start taking steps to change it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key, is to never stay stagnant, like we're always moving forward. And yeah, you're right. Success isn't the destination. Like, there's yes, we have a vision to work towards, but I think it's all just such a, I don't know, such a personal development journey, but that's a whole nother conversation. So I've sort of because I've sort of came across you in your early years, I really have seen you sort of reposition your brand, towards that money mindset thing. And, that I'm always cheering you on from the sidelines and everything you do. But how have you sort of confidently stepped into the money mindset space? You're an accountant, you do the numbers, you kind of like that, supporting, that's how you started. And then you realized that there was, I love that you realized that about your clients, and it was a gap that you saw that you could fill and sort of support them through even further, and sort of, I guess, deepen the experience for them and add value, I guess. So how have you done that? Was that always the plan, or is that something that you just sort of, evolved into? And how did you sort of start integrating that into, your services and your products and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I guess similar to what we were talking about in other areas of business, the way that you serve your clients can evolve over time. I've definitely always been very money focused. It's always been, that sounds bad, but you know what I mean? My brand has always been very much about supporting business owners to make more money in their business. But I guess as I've been growing on my own personal journey, I've learned that there's other techniques that I, have used myself personally and used on clients of mine. And so I wanted to incorporate that into the way that I support business owners. And so it felt, and, I see this a lot with businesses and brands, is that as you change, as you grow, there'll be other, ways that you want to serve your audience. And I think that's the thing, is it's like, how are you refreshing yourself? How are you staying really relevant to the people that you want to serve without confusing your audience? And this is the other thing that I would say, unfortunately, when I see brands evolve in an unsuccessful way, it's because they are continually being completely different. Whereas I feel that it was a really natural evolution to be incorporating money mindset into talking about money. So look, I think that you'll get urges when you are running your business. You'll have times where you feel really called to refresh yourself, move in a different direction. And I think you really need to follow those nudges. And and then just keep showing up authentically as you. And I think that when you come from a place of service, and when you come from a place of really wanting to help people, then your audience will be growing with you, and the right people will be resonating with the message that you're sharing.
That's so spot on. I love that so much. I'm a huge believer in following the nudges. I like to call it God wink, or, following the breadcrumbs and that sort of thing. My entire business is intuition led. And I love that, because, it's something that's so important. And I really think is key, is sort of really knowing who your perfect customer is, in the form of, a client avatar, or, customer persona, all those things. But then just keep not just doing that as an exercise, but truly, you know, getting to know those people and reading between the lines and identifying what they really need from you, and sort of, you know, like adding value to your services in that way. And that sort of helps to, I guess, add a deeper level of meaning to your brand as well. So yeah, I totally agree with all of that. But I guess sort of as you've done that, like, because you've very clearly done that exact thing, what I just said, like, it's sort of like, yes, you can do that, especially with your existing clients, but it's also needs to be communicated in your messaging. You know, like, you always need to be fine-tuning what you're communicating and how, and, you know, because it's not like, yes, it's important to like retain clients, but we also need to be attracting new clients. And, you know, ideally the new ones are going to be like even more in line, do you know what I mean, with what you're now offering. So sort of how have you sort of done that? Like, how have you kept in touch with your messaging and, you know, I guess stayed across the perception of your brand and really, you know, I guess been intentional about the reputation that you're wanting to build?
Yeah, I think that I've just always been authentically me and authentically talking about the challenges that my audience is having and sharing the wins of my clients. And I think that's the thing, is that I'm not pretending to be anything. I'm not going, oh, this is a new message that I need to talk about now. It's very, very natural for me to be sharing and talking to my audience in this way. And I found there has been an evolution in the clients that I serve over the years as well. I definitely have positioned my brand that I serve business owners who, you know, are sort of making multi-six figures in the business. And a big way that I think I've been able to do that is because I'm talking about the people that I'm serving and the transformations that they're having, and how I'm supporting them to have their own breakthroughs. And so what's happening is that more of those kind of clients are being attracted to me and my brand. And I guess that's the thing that I would say to anyone, if you are wanting to change, don't fake it. Like, just talk about things that are authentic, and you will attract those right kind of people when you are sharing the wins and and the successes that people have had through working with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So sharing stories and examples, and rather than getting up there and saying like, I do this for this, and I, you know, like that sort of thing, like actually just, intertwining that into your conversations. And I think you do that so beautifully, especially on Instagram. So yeah, that makes total sense. And seeing though we're, you know, on this sort of train of money and numbers and all that sort of stuff, I would like to explore with you how pricing can be used as a brand positioning strategy, especially because, you know, like, it's not just set your prices and forget and walk away and that's that. You know, we've all got money baggage. I know I do, and stories that we tell ourselves. And, you know, I'd love to just explore that whole idea, and, you know, how that works, like how I guess there's two parts to this question. So how pricing can be used as brand positioning, and then sort of like the journey that it takes to confidently get to that place where you are, you know, charging your value and all those sort of, I guess, generic cliches we hear.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, I guess, like, talking about how pricing affects your brand positioning in itself is a really big conversation.
Big topic.
But let me dive a little bit into what my perception of brand positioning and pricing are, and then I can explain about how, you know, you can evolve your business and pricing if that feels appropriate for you. So people do form a perception about value based on pricing. And let me share an example. if I was going to get a new brand and someone said, yes, for $500, I do your brand colors, your logo, and create you a suite of new assets, I would instantly be turned off that brand. Because for where I'm at in my business, that would indicate to me that they're not a very good product. And no offense if that's how much you are charging for branding, but where I am in my business,
me,
definitely I was saying to the listeners, I know
there are a lot of people out there and they need some education, so I'm glad that you said that. Yes, I agree.
And again, there's a place for everyone in the market. So there are people that are going to charge really low prices. I obviously want to encourage people to charge their worth and make sure that they are earning what they deserve to be earning. But yeah, there definitely is a perception, and I know it's the same across many industries. And people challenge me all the time saying no one would ever pay this. And I didn't take, but I was in a large organization that went through a rebrand, a large corporate, and they spent over $200,000 on their new brand. And that's something that I do remind people, is that there are people that will pay. I think I heard that the Australian government paid like $1 million or $2 million for their new logo that then ended up looking like coronavirus and then had to scratch it anyway. The Australia made it was.
All the time.
So there are definitely people that pay a whole spectrum of prices, and just about defining where you want to sit in the market. There are definitely people that do what I do that charge a lot more money than I charge, but equally, there are a lot of people that charge a lot less. And I know my clients, I know who I serve, I know who my ideal client is really, really well, and I'm priced at a price point that's appropriate for that audience. So this is the thing that I guess I encourage people to say is, first of all, like, think about, who do you want to be? Like, what do you want your brand to represent? Who are you serving? And then what's their capacity to afford what it is that you're offering? And there is a real, as much as I'm all for put your price up in it, there is a real break point for pricing for a lot of people. I mean, there are some people who are like, I literally don't have, I would love to work with you, but I don't have that money.
They physically don't have the cash.
Exactly. But yeah, it is sort of being very mindful. What are people perceiving when they see my prices? I know some people will see my prices and think that's absolutely absurd. There's no way on earth I pay that. And then I've had other clients of mine who are like, oh, your prices are very reasonable. And I'm like, isn't it so interesting how different people can perceive the same price in different ways? So that's the first part of that question, which is like, well, what does your brand represent? It's really going, well, who do you want to serve? And then being really mindful about what your price says to that audience about you. Then if you are wanting to evolve where you want to be from where you are, it's not just, like I say, one of the things I teach people is how to confidently increase their prices. People are like, I could just put my prices up on mine. I'm like, well, why haven't you? Because it's not that it's not that simple. That's the reality. There's so much, firstly, strategy that goes into it, and secondly, psychology. Because what will happen when you put your prices up is that people say to you, oh, it's too expensive. And I see this a lot where people go, oh my gosh, I've overbaked it. I need to pull them back down again. And maybe you do. But a lot of the work that I do is in that space of like the mindset side, saying, well, hang on, this is why we've chosen that. This is, how it's the right price point for your audience. Let's stand true to that. And that for me is, and also as you are wanting to, potentially increase your prices, you need to do it in a very strategic way. Like if you just suddenly overnight double your prices, a lot of people might be, your existing audience might be like, whoa, where's that come from? It might not speak to them. So it really does need to be done in a mindful, considered way, bearing in mind who it is that you're wanting to serve.
Yes, and that's so interesting, like, because there's so many things that it depends on. you know, like, and what it is exactly that you are pricing, you know, like if it's a product or if it's a service, or, and, you know, like looking at deliverables and all that sort of thing. But coming back to the whole, like that initial imposter syndrome of, you know, like when, I don't know, if a coach encourages you to put a price up, or if you know in your heart that what you're charging isn't quite right, and you feel like the value that you're delivering is, you know, deserves a higher price point. But it's, as soon as you start thinking about it, it's just like those voices, no one will ever pay that, you know, like those awful, like, bleh. And the thing I think, like, that you really need to remember is, like, if you, like, it, because maybe you wouldn't pay that, but that doesn't mean that your ideal client wouldn't pay that. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe, and in your world, like, maybe because you already have this knowledge and know-how, like, you don't value it as much as somebody else who is seeking that. Like, that's what they really need right now. And you're sort of there going, oh, that just takes me 5 minutes. Whereas if they were going to do it themselves, especially from a design perspective. Yeah. And I was, so interesting. I was watching this thing the other day about, I don't know, this is just something interesting, I think, that's relevant to what we're speaking about, is like time, especially in service-based businesses. Like, traditionally, it's like, coming from the design perspective, traditionally we would be charging by the hour, and it's only very recently that that my industry is moving towards more value-based pricing. And so I guess, you know, I was watching a video, and I can't remember what the actual wording was, but it was like a role play between a client and a service provider. And the client was like, the service provider was saying it's $18,000, and the client was saying, yeah, but what, like, how many hours is it going to take you to do that? I want to know what I'm paying for my hours. And it was so good because the service provider was saying, yeah, but, you know, you might go down the road and pay the same amount for someone to spend, you know, like 50 hours developing something that you don't even like. Whereas I have the experience and the know-how and the skill to knock something up in 20 minutes that you love. Like, which one are you going to pay the $18,000 for? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's such a good exercise. And yeah, it's just such a big topic, isn't it? But yeah, I guess, now I think I have all these notes, and you've pretty much answered all of my questions just in that incredible spiel. If somebody is going to, like, if they're feeling the niggles, and, you know, they feel like, you know, because it happens, like, I feel like in a brand evolution, we go along, so we start, right, and we go along our journey, and we lean into what our customers are saying, and we start delivering the service, and then all of a sudden, like, our branding and our messaging isn't, like, aligned with where we are, and it needs to sort of start reflecting that, including pricing, because pricing is part of brand positioning, as we've spoken about. So how would you recommend somebody goes about it? Like, what are the steps?
Yeah, well, it's interesting timing, actually, because I'm going through a rebrand at the moment.
Yeah, so, I know. I'm excited to see it all.
I'm really excited to be on this journey. So I definitely was feeling that I'd outgrown my brand. And like you said, you just know, like, I was embarrassed to direct people to my website. Yeah. I knew that there was a lack of consistency, and it wasn't reflecting where I am now, which is why I decided to go on the journey. So the first thing is that you find experts. So I have been working with someone who's a brand strategist, and having really big conversations and tough conversations too, about who I am, what I want to represent, what I'm currently reflecting. And we then went and created a brand voice. Was my first stage in the process, was really getting super clear about, you know, my strategy, my positioning, how I want to be talking to my audience. Then started the brand process, like the actual recreating the brand, and then
are you speaking visual brand or like that?
Yeah, talking the visual, you know, the logos and the assets and colors and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the current stage that I'm in at the moment is really starting to tie it all together through the web development and the copy.
Mm-hmm.
And starting to get super clear about my offering, my positioning, and I'm revisiting everything, like pricing, products. And I think that when you are doing a rebrand, it can be a really great time to actually check in and say, how does my pricing align to this audience that I want to serve?
Mm-hmm.
How does my product offering serve the people that I want to serve? So I know for me, I'm doing a full, like, everything is changing. But sometimes it doesn't need to be that dramatic. Sometimes it can just be a refresh of the visual look and feel. Other times it's literally like getting back to basics. But for me, I guess every step of the journey, I have paid people and paid them a lot of money because I want to work with the best, and got expert opinion. And I've also been really blessed that the people who have been on this journey with me have all been clients of mine. So they know me, they know what I'm about, they know how I work. And I think that's been really interesting, having that insight of people who are really familiar and intimate with me and my brand, because they can, really give an outsider's perspective on how to be transforming.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love this whole supportive communities that we create. We're sort of, you know, like, it's just, and there's no, you know, like, I just love that there's no pompous, like, you're just, you know, because, you know, from a client student perspective, like, some people will be like, oh, I can't work with somebody who I'm teaching, all that sort of thing. But the fact that you have done that and supported those ladies lights my heart up. That's so beautiful. And it's so true. Like, you know, sometimes I think a lot of people sometimes think they just need a brand refresh. But really coming, like, especially when you've been in business this many years, like, it's really good to go back to the very beginning and go through everything with a fine-tooth comb so that everything is in alignment, like including your pricing. Like, and I love that you're doing that. And sometimes I feel like what people think and what they end up going on when it's a branding journey are two completely, like, separate things. It just opens up, like, it just opens up so many different things and thought processes. And, you know, like, working with someone especially who knows those right questions to ask is super important. So yeah, congratulations. This is exciting. Didn't expect to get here in the conversation, but I'm really excited for you. Okay, so all right, so let's, in wrapping up, because I feel like there's just so much that we've been able to speak about, and I'm super grateful to have been able to talk through all of these things with you. What's your best tip when it comes to strengthening your money mindset muscle?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say it's probably awareness. I think that actually being mindful, and if you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, you should go and give me a follow, at Clare_Wood_coach. But I share little examples constantly about what a money block or what money mindset is telling you. So you might think, I've got no money issues, I confidently charge my worth. And I've never met anyone who doesn't have some sort of money blocks or money issues. It's just that, and you know, even as you grow, they just evolve. So an example of one that's popped up recently for me, I was saying to my coach that I said, it's very much not my thing to buy, like, designer handbags. And I said, all my peers seem to be buying these Louis Vuitton bags. I was like, that's so not my thing. And she was like, oh, okay. And she's like, why? And I said, oh, because it's so materialistic. And as soon as I said it, I was like, whoa, there's a judgment. There's a judgment of others. And there's a judgment perhaps of myself. Like, am I, like, why do I think it's okay for them to have nice bags and not for me? And you know, as you sort of, as you're growing, I constantly am reassessing and evaluating and going, wow, I wonder where that came from. I know that someone I follow, her name's Manifestation Babe, and she just had this massive launch, made millions and millions of dollars on one of her launches. And I was chatting to a few of my business girlfriends, and I said, oh, there would have been a whole bunch of issues that came with that, customer service issues, team. And again, as soon as I said it, I went, wow, I equate success, or, you know, that level of success with a whole bunch more problems.
Yes.
And I'm just constantly reminding myself, like, this isn't a truth. This is a perception. This is a story that you've got. And this is something that I would say to people when they're starting their money mindset journey is I'm like, just start observing. Start observing your judgment, start observing your judgments of yourself, start observing your judgments of other people, start observing when, you know, someone says, put your price up, like what comes up for you? Oh, that's not for me. That's for people that like to rip people off. Oh, okay. There's a story. So the first step for me is always identifying. It's really like the awareness. That's a story. That's a story. And that's something I think I'm getting really good at doing. Is when I say something, when I perceive something, when I think something, I'm straight checking in. Is that a truth or is that a perception? Is that a money story? And if it is a story, then I've got my framework that I know of how I can rewrite and reprogram it.
Yes. And I think even just me following you on Instagram, I have become more aware because of your examples that you share. Like, you share so genuinely and so authentically. Like, you don't share from a position of not authority, but like, you know what I'm better than you because I got it more figured out type thing. It's more like you're on this journey and you've discovered these tools and you're sort of so good at sharing in a way that I don't know, you just like, you're so relatable, and I love that about you. And I guess when you were talking, I just last week, one of my business friends were telling me about her friend who just had this incredible launch, and, you know, how she'd done all this work to sort of like change her perception of herself and how her business had exploded. And like, she'd just, I don't know, done like a, I don't know, $70,000 live launch for her course or something. And immediately I thought, and I think I said it out loud, I said, I just couldn't do that much work to be able to have that kind of success. And I was like, oh, that means, you know, like, in like when you're sort of analyzing that, it's like, that means that I still equate hard work to monetary success. Like, even though you can tell yourself, no, I'm not like that, whatever, like, I know that I can, it's just like, I've been thinking about that all week. So anyway, I think you're right in that we all have our own baggage. All right, so my next question was, what's next for Clare Wood? We've already discussed that. You're all over it. So where can we find you? You mentioned Instagram. You're big on Instagram. Where else can we find you and take a little stalk of your website and keep refreshing until we get that brand new brand?
Yes. So my name is actually spelled Clare. There's no I in there. So I think it's always important to highlight that. But Wood is just normal. Wood is WOOD. But you can come and find me at either clarewood.com or the Clare Wood podcast is my podcast. And I release episodes every Tuesday, and it's full of, you know, money mindset goodness, practical money stuff. It's all about the money over there. So, and if you do come and connect with me on Instagram, make sure you drop me a DM and say hi. I'd love to connect.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Claire.
If you loved listening to this week's episode, pretty please click subscribe so that you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, if you have just a minute, please feel free to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. I'd so appreciate it, and it will help spread this message further. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you next week.